Everyone, I'm Mackayla, and today we're welcoming Clare Cordell to the soundtrack of our lives. She's going to talk about her experience in the music industry as a small artist, her amazing voice, and the challenges she's overcome. So, welcome. We're really glad to have you here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So, can you start off by telling us a little bit about how you fell in love with music?
I fell in love with music from a young age, really. My granddad was one of those jazz musicians in the like 20s and stuff. So he taught me how to play the piano, and I was always listening to music when I was a kid and kind of figured out quite early on that I could sing. And then I was like, oh, well, this is what I'm going to do. This is it. Much to the dismay of everyone at school when they were like, you need to go to maths. I was like, but I don't. So yeah, from a very, very young age, I've always known music was it for me.
So, what kind of encouraged or inspired you to audition for The Voice?
So a bit of like background tea. I didn't actually audition. I was one of the ones that was scouted
Okay.
on. Someone approached me through, I feel like it was probably Instagram, and I've been approached a fair few times to do it and a few other shows as well. And up until the point, so it was 2020 when I agreed to do it. So we were like towards the end of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And I had up until this point said, oh, no, I'm all right. It's not really for me. Like, I don't think it's my kind of thing. And then the pandemic hit and I was like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. So we did the first, like, probably the first six, because it was a really, really long process up from that point, because they had all of the guys that actually auditioned, and then all of the other guys they scouted on as well. So the process was really, really long. It lasted for months and months, and I think the first sort of 6 months of that was all over Zoom because we were pandemic ridden, so we couldn't really go anywhere. I remember the first time we were sort of asked to go anywhere in person, it was the blind auditions. No, we had a rehearsal before the blind auditions. That was it. We had because the good thing about The Voice is that you meet with throughout the whole process. You're sort of put in touch with vocal coaches and like mental health specialists, so they take it really seriously, and it is such a refreshing kind of part of the industry, and they're really good with their acts. So the first time we met in person, we had to sort of stand. I remember me and the vocal coach had like a plastic screen between us, going through all of my song choices, and yeah, it was really bizarre, but yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed the process. It was long, but it was really good fun.
And what was your favorite part of that whole process?
Probably the I mean, aside, it's really cheesy. Aside from the kind of people that I've met from it, like we had this secret group chat throughout it. We weren't supposed to be communicating, but obviously we were. Like contestant group chat, which is still going strong now. And we've done a few gigs together, and we're actually going to Ireland on. Oh, I'm gonna get told off because I don't know the date. Something December something, and we're doing a gig in Ireland because some of the guys who were on the show who live in Ireland have kind of sorted that out. So aside from the people, I think probably the blind audition and getting to work with the musicians, the band is unbelievable, and they cut it out of the show, which I'm gutted. But as soon as I'd finished my blind song, I sort of turned around and screeched at the band. I was like, yeah. I tried to run up and give them high fives and stuff. But they're unreal. They're unbelievable. So yeah. What's the guy that runs it? David Trent, I think. He's they're brilliant.
That's really cool. So you're doing gigs with people that you auditioned with?
Yeah, we've done a fair few gigs, and they're a supportive group of people anyway. I think because we're all kind of in it all together, and it's such a unique experience unless you've had that kind of. We sort of had that kinship instantly because we couldn't really talk about it with anyone else because it was supposed to be, although it was my worst kept secret. I told literally I used to be doing gigs and I'd be like, oh, I'm going to be on The Voice, but just don't tell anyone. I'm just a terrible secret keeper, but it managed to stay under wraps, which is good.
Yeah, so, being a female in the industry, it's a very hard thing to do. So, what particular challenges have you faced and overcome?
I think, I mean, females in any industry face. I mean, I feel like females and female identifying people face a hell of a lot more obstacles in any sort of like part of life than cis men, particularly. But in music, you don't. It is sort of changing, and it is kind of progressing in the right direction, but you're not taken as seriously as a female because I'm really not sure why, but you're not taken as seriously. You can be writing the most incredible music, and I've seen it like firsthand. You can be writing the most amazing music and performing to like the best of your ability, but a man doing half the effort with half the talent will still get in more doors than us. Like, it is just a fact, and it's such a shame, but it is something that is being fought against. And there are so many different groups in the industry, in the music industry now, dedicated to just women and female identifying people. Like and they're so important. I'm part of like a few, and that just scratches the surface. And that sort of uplifting women's voices is so important, which is why kind of with my new record, I wanted to work with predominantly female identifying people. So my new producer's female, and I've got one of my guitarists is trans. Like it's such a nice mixture of humans, and it's always really nice to be in a room with people that kind of get it. Like women in the music industry are really, really, really undervalued, even down to pay. So I did a gig recently, and the male counterpart in the gig was paid about 300 quid more than me, and I was like, what can you do other than sort of fight it and argue and then potentially lose the gig? It's such a balance. You have to pick your battles, but I would always recommend battling for equal pay and rights and stuff like that. But
definitely.
Yeah, it is a funny industry.
Yeah, so how do you stay true to yourself and your music when faced with the pressure to conform to the industry standards?
I think that you have to be so okay with yourself, which I think to a certain extent all of us are a little bit insecure about everything. But I think as soon as you realize, I realized maybe over the pandemic, maybe just before, that I was still pursuing music for myself more so than anyone else. Like, it's not, I don't write really, it's a bonus when people like your music, and it's incredible when people support you, and that is like, that's a real added bonus. But again, if no one was watching and if no one was listening, I'd still do it, and I'd still do it the same way. You have to do it for yourself. You can't be doing it for the wrong reasons. As soon as you start trying to write things that you think people will enjoy, they're not very good. It's just not. There's something about being authentic that is instantly relatable, and I think as soon as you start to lean into that, people will get you more. And it feels so counterintuitive, because you're like, oh, I should be writing something like this so that people can relate to it, but it will be inauthentic, so they won't relate to it. So as soon as you just are honest and stuff, it's terrifying, but it's way more rewarding, I find, anyway.
Yeah, so how do you balance the authenticity with kind of, keeping some of that for yourself?
Difficult. I think it's really the balancing anything while sustaining a music career is tough. I think I'm kind of in the midst of a burnout at the moment, which is why my voice sounds like this. I sound like Barry White a little bit, but you can't give. It's difficult because I'm quite open and opinionated and stuff, but also I am quite private. So I think I find personally that I'm open about the things that are already in the public. So like social matters and LGBTQ rights and women's rights and stuff like that. I'll never not speak about stuff like that. However, I sometimes don't think that my personal life is anyone else's business. So there is a balance, and it is sustaining that is tough, but you kind of know, and the right people around you will know what to share and what not to share. It is important to have especially if you're writing your own music, to have a really strong producer. The track I'm working on at the moment with my producer, we had a songwriting session which lasted about 6 hours the other day, because there were certain things that I want to say this and this and this, and she was like, that is quite open. Are you sure? But it is nice to have that balance for people kind of helping you out in that sense, I think, because managing it on your own is almost impossible. You do need a little bit of input from someone else, I think.
Yeah, because otherwise you don't know that you're being so open, because you're just
and you don't know what people want to hear either, really. You don't, like, sometimes if people are really, really open to a fault, it is quite uncomfortable, I think, because you get a bit, but maybe we need to be sitting in that comfort. It's not a balance I've quite got right yet, but
takes time. Yeah, so you've mentioned a little bit about new music. Can you speak more to what's coming?
Yeah, I'm working with a producer at the moment called Rooks, and the new stuff is really, it's not so different to my old stuff that's already out there, really, because it's all my voice and stuff like that, and my style and my vocal style. But I think the subject matter is a bit more personal, and a bit, again, I think this is the sort of first time I've properly lent into that authenticity, and I think albeit terrifying, I think it's going to work. I think it's going to pay off, and the track sounds fucking awesome. Am I allowed to swear?
Yes, you are.
I have to check. The track already sounds fucking great, so
that's awesome.
I'm hoping it'll be a good one, and it's just the first of many, I think, with Rooks, which will be good.
That's awesome. Find somebody that you can work well with.
Yeah. It was a meeting of minds, really. We kind of met by accident, and then I was like, oh, because both of my previous producers are artists themselves, so are both now kind of doing really well in their own right. I was a bit like, damn it, good producers are now successful elsewhere. God. But Rooks is incredible, yeah. So it's really nice to be working with them.
So how would you say your music has evolved from when you first started to where you are now?
I think again, leaning into that authenticity, I'd stopped writing for what I think people wanted to listen to, and more so just wrote for myself and about things that I care about, I guess. And
Yeah.
I've always found that the songs that I've written that are more relatable are the ones that I've kind of written about, like about how I feel about myself and being a woman and that kind of thing, as opposed to the sort of standard like love songs, breakup songs, that kind of thing. I feel like the other side of my writing is way stronger than that side. So it's nice to see that evolve, which is really cool.
So when you sit down to kind of start writing a song, what does that process look like for you?
For me, it changes. It's such a different thing depending on the song. Like sometimes I'll just hear a lyric and I'm like, oh, I'm writing a song about that. Or other times it'll be a melody that I'm like, oh, that's great. The problem with that is that sometimes it's a melody that I've heard in another song. And my brain will be like, well done, you've written that yourself. And then I'll write a whole song that is a completely different song. I've done that before. I accidentally, when I was probably about 13, so it wasn't like serious songwriting. But I remember playing a little tape of a song that I'd written to my friend and being like, I heard this melody and I've written a really cool song around it. And I played it to her and she sort of looked at me like this. And I was like, what? And she went, you know, that's You Are Not Alone by Michael Jackson. I was like, damn it. That's already a song. I thought it was groundbreaking, but Michael Jackson had already written it.
It was groundbreaking.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, it was. Fine.
Yeah, so when you're, writing and then you kind of struggle with inspiration, what do you do to kind of get out of that, Brad?
Do you want the PC answer or the slightly inappropriate answer?
It is up to you.
I mean, sometimes I'll get a little bit high or a little bit drunk and it kind of comes out. Otherwise, I just try and ground, and I'm a bit spiritual, so I meditate, and Reiki really helps me as well. So stuff like that, and also to stop thinking about it too much. I journal every night and sort of all the time, and whenever I think of a lyric, my phone is full of notes and voice notes, stuff of various different combinations of lyrics and tunes and stuff like that. But just writing until something good comes out of it. Sometimes it's all trash and you have to go through it the next day like, what was I trying to say? But just, yeah, persistence, I think.
And so on the, kind of the opposite side of that, what would you say are your biggest musical inspirations right now?
Oh, right now, I'm such a Brandi Carlile fan. Obviously, Whitney and Aretha Franklin are like huge inspirations to me in life. Stevie Nicks as well. I'm trying to think of someone current that is Yeba. I adore Yeba. Yola, I think, really underrated and has such a stunning voice. Who else? I'm just trying to look around and see if I can take inspiration from anything in here. Yeah, I mean, just a strong vocal and a strong message. I can't say her last name. Maddie Sam.
Oh, yeah.
She's brilliant. I think her songwriting is incredible. But yeah, a strong message, a strong vocal, and I'm kind of sold. Luke Combs is great. Chris Stapleton, yeah, that kind of vibe.
Nice. It's a good inspiration.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're great.
So how have they kind of influenced your music?
I think their mix of styles, I don't think any of those artists are kind of set on a specific genre. I think it's very fluid, and I find that really fascinating how people can kind of create a whole record that goes between genres of music. I think that's fascinating because I'm such a fan of just music in general. I don't ever want to be a pop singer, a country singer. I'd love to just mesh it all together and do my own thing, and I think that's really, really great that how they, particularly Brandi Carlile, I think she has a country folk blues kind of voice and style, but then some of her music's quite rocky and some of it's pop. I just think that kind of thing's really great. I love it.
Yeah. So do you plan to do something like that?
I'd love to. I think mixing the styles is really great. The new track we're working on is quite different to what I'm used to. It's more kind of R&B vibes, but sort of still quite mellow.
Yeah, that's cool. So you were a featured artist in the Girls I Rate movement. Can you talk a little bit about that movement and then kind of how that impacted your career and perspective on the industry?
Yeah, they're an important group. When we were talking about earlier about female empowerment, it's run by Carla Williams, who is a songwriter. She's an incredible songwriter. She wrote tracks. She's written tracks for Britney, I think, Beyonce, all sorts of people. And she did this, like, I think it's still going strong. I'm just not as active in it at the moment because everything's sort of elsewhere. They really, really empower music and different styles of music and women in the music industry. The first time I got involved with them was, it must have been like 2018, I think, and we had to, there was a thing that was posted somewhere about submit a track for industry, like opinions or something, and I submitted one of my tracks and then got invited to this event that they were doing, which was, it was called a Get Heard movement, I think, and it was like this big conference just full of incredible women in the music industry. Carla was running it, and Lily Allen was a guest mentor, and another lady called Tanya, and then there was a few people from different record labels there as well. And they basically, you play, it sounds quite terrifying actually, but it was fun. You got your song, some people, there was like a selection of us, got their music played in front of the room and then sort of discussed with the panel like how it was and stuff, and they were great, they were really supportive. And yeah, it was really fascinating, and it was just really nice to be, that was another time when it was just exceptional to be in a room of people in that industry. They've had like, that's, I think that same year we had a party, a summer party on a boat on the Thames, and there was performances from Emily Sandé and various different other people. It was just so great to be around all these really strong women in the industry and like absolutely bossing it. It was just yeah, such a nice group of people to be involved in, and they're so supportive of everyone involved, like, and it was all different genres there. I remember being on the panel on the list of people that got played with a country singer, a female rapper, there was a grime and drum and bass artist and stuff. It was so mixed, but it was still so fascinating to watch people just sort of doing their thing. It was, yeah, it's such a great group of people to work with.
So when you're about to go on stage, what's the last thing that crosses your mind before you go on?
That's a tough one, because someone asked me recently if I get nervous. I don't get nervous as such anymore, but like, for example, tomorrow I've got a gig, and this is my last headliner gig of the year, and vocally I'm not 100%, so so that will be playing on my mind quite a lot, but I'll just sort of do what I can and rely heavily on my pianist.
Do you have any pre-show rituals that you do?
Where are they? They were here a second ago. I've just literally just packed my bag to take to my gig tomorrow. I swear so much by these pastels. They're Greth's pastels. They come with me everywhere. They're sugar-free blackcurrant Greth's pastels, or you can get elderberry. They're from Amazon and everything, but they're just these little sweets that every time I gig, I go through so many of them. When I used to host in a musical theatre bar, which has sadly just closed down, the whole premise of it was like constant singing. And I used to go through like a packet through there, because it must be placebo because it is just a sweet, but they're unbelievable. So that's one of my rituals. I always have water and mint tea. Not very rock and roll. I like a gin and tonic if I'm feeling great. If I've got something particularly hard to sing, believe it or not, a shot of tequila helps.
Okay.
I did a shot of tequila before I went on stage to do my blind audition. I had it in a hip flask in my handbag.
I never thought about like artists doing like a shot of tequila right before like an audition for something like that.
Yeah. I mean, alcohol's famously really terrible for your voice, but it is also, I mean, a tiny bit of it to relax you.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. So when you're doing a live gig, what can fans expect from that experience?
For me to never know the words, I just won't. They'll be made up, or I'll ask someone to sing them for me. I don't know why. I just can't retain lyrics, specifically from songs I've written myself. No, I think humour is a massive part of my set. I'm a musical theatre performer sort of at heart, and I think humour is massive, and I like to involve everyone who's on stage with me as well. Like, I'll chat to my guitarist and pianist. Like, tomorrow I've got a really good friend of mine playing keys for me, Ben, and he's one of my really good mates, so I will probably get a microphone for him just so that he can be involved, that kind of thing. I find going to shows where watching people do shows where they don't sort of interact and it is just song, I personally get a bit bored. I love the interaction you can get with the audience and stuff, which is always important to me, which is why at the moment I really like I prefer doing smaller venues and massive ones, because you have to rely so much on who's on the stage with you if you're just doing the massive performances and stuff like that. And I mean, on The Voice we had a chance obviously to talk to the judges and stuff like that, but I would love to have spent more time sort of chatting to the band and stuff like that.
You mentioned your love of musical theater. So how does that influence your music?
Weirdly, because I think musical theatre is all about playing a character, it gives you I mean, anyone who's in musical theatre will tell you you have to have real thick, like elephant hide skin to be in it. And
Hmm.
that helps because I'm not phased by a lot of stuff. I think it gives you a thick skin. And I think like if technical issues could throw loads of people, but it happens, I don't care. I'll just sort of talk my way out of it, and
Hmm.
issues. There's not really much that could kind of throw me off to the point where I wouldn't be able to perform. I can't think of a scenario where that would happen. And I credit that to having a thick skin. I think
Hmm.
the worst thing you can do in musical theatre is compare yourself to other performers, because everyone
Hmm.
is always, but you always put up for the same roles as your friends and stuff like that, and it's tough. And if you started getting into your head about it, it could be really, really damaging mentally. And I think that same with in the music industry. I know so many people that are in the music, like a lot of my friends are in the industry, and some are doing incredibly and some are just starting out. But there's
Hmm.
no, like, for me, there's no, I don't look at any of them and be like, God damn it. I would rather just be supportive. And I think it comes back to you. I think it's really important.
Yeah. So, I mean, going off a little bit of that thick skin, how do you deal with criticism or negative feedback?
I'd love to say it just doesn't bother me and I move on. And most of the time that is the case. I just go,
Hmm.
well, all right. But sometimes there are occasions when you go, God, shit.
Yeah.
I really thought this was going to be like a thing. And there are certain occasions where there's a gig that you want, or like, I'm trying to think of an example. Oh, I was put in for a slot to sing at the Isle of Wight Festival, and I really, really fucking wanted to do it, but it was
Hmm.
given to someone else, and I was like, that I was gutted then. But it didn't. You have to get over it and move on, because if you dwell, it's just going to slow you down even more. I think you
Hmm.
just have to get up and crack on. It is so important. But again, everyone's human. So I dwell a lot. Sometimes I have to go completely into hermit mode and like
Hmm.
reset myself, and then I will come back and I'll be fine.
What do you do when you're resetting yourself?
I usually I read a lot. I
Hmm.
sit in this room and like turn the lights off, and have got, I don't know if you can see behind me, they're like rocks and stuff
Uh-huh.
everywhere,
Yep.
crystals and all that stuff. I just need to sometimes be in my own space. And I rewatch shows I've watched a million times, and films, any Adam Sandler film.
Hmm. Good.
I just
Those are
sit
good ones.
and zen out, journal and that kind of thing, and just get myself back on track.
Hmm. Are there any particular books or movies that you find yourself gravitating towards?
I love horror films. I love
Okay.
them. Occasionally, I'll just watch The Craft over and over again.
Hmm.
Books wise, I kind of read anything. I love most books. I'll give it a crack. I like reading in general. Films wise, horror films. I love like a murder, murder mystery documentary, that kind of thing. Serial killers. I don't know what this says about me really, but
Well,
that kind of,
I think a lot of people are interested in that though, because it's
yeah,
just kind of like you're just like, why? How does that happen?
yeah. I think recently I got into a real Charles Manson hole, and I was
Hmm.
like watching everything about him, because I was like, how, why?
Yeah.
But that kind of stuff really kind of quiets my brain out. I think it's so bizarre.
I think it's one of those things you're like, well, I'm not that crazy.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not that bad. Like, thankfully, yeah,
Right. It's like things aren't going that way for me, so I'm fine.
yeah, exactly. There's a cat trying to get in my room.
So with, social media today taking on such an important role within the music industry, how do you kind of balance, being this like social media persona versus also having time to make your music?
Social media is such a funny thing, because I'm so 50-50 on it. A lot of the time I absolutely hate it, but then sometimes I think it's so important, and I would credit it on a lot of opportunities I've had kind of up until this point in time. A lot of my work comes from social media, and I think there's something has to be said for that. But then also it is exhausting. Like at the moment for this gig, people keep phoning me and shouting things about self-promotion down the phone, and I just get a bit like, ah, I wish someone could do it for me. But it's the nature of the beast. If you're your own self-managed and stuff like that at the moment, not all of us have teams of people to
Hmm.
do things, so that's a balance, and that's something that navigating that's quite hard. But I'm so bad at being professional about things. Like, I want to sort of talk to people as I'm talking to you now. I would talk to
Hmm.
anyone like the same way. So when it comes to self promo, and I found this quite a lot on The Voice, when they used to have to be to me like, right, okay, say that again, but just don't swear. That kind of thing.
Yeah. So, how do you kind of create a fan base when everything is kind of online right now?
I think lockdown's a great way for that to be a good example. Live streaming was so important for us over lockdown, because it was all everyone could do, really.
Yeah.
So creating the kind of content that people want to watch, again, it goes back to being authentic. If you start sort of doing everything that everyone else is doing, there's going to be a whole abundance of the same kind of content going out, and none of it's going to be authentic, and everyone's going to get bored of it, which I think is great. Like the TikTok dances, for example, there were so many people doing them over lockdown, but I bet can sort of only remember a handful of them. It's the same kind of thing with music and content. If you start creating things that is relatable, it has to be authentic, and you can't start creating for the sake of creating. If you're not feeling it, don't do it. If you're having a moment where I don't really feel like posting a video today, don't do it, because if you do post a video and you're not feeling it, people can see straight through it. And I'm so guilty of that. Like, I think yesterday I posted a video promoting the gig I'm doing on Monday, and I was so ingenuine. It's just like, I was like, yeah, buy tickets, see you on Monday. It was just you can't fake that kind of thing. You can't you can't fake it.
So what advice do you have for somebody who is just starting out in the music industry?
Take care of yourself mentally and physically is the main thing I would say. Therapy is key. Therapy is important. And I've said it like 1,000 times, take a shot every time I say authenticity, but you can't be anything other than yourself. Yeah. I've spent my whole music career battling the comparison to Adele. Everyone says it to me. It's something that I'm kind of used to now, but I know that I'm nothing like Adele. We don't sound the same. We're very, very different artists, but I don't think of it as like a, God damn it. It's obviously a flattering comparison. I'm not going to, but I don't create the same kind of stuff as her. And that is very evident when people actually listen to me. So you can't get caught up in trying to sound like your favorite artist, that kind of thing. And there's nothing I hate more than listening to a voice on TikTok and it sounds exactly like every other singer. There's a thing going around at the moment with all of the people singing in garages that is specifically auto-tuned. And people have pulled it out straight away. People don't buy it. Yeah. People are like, that's auto-tuned. That's not legitimate. So be yourself is my main bit of advice, I think.
Very good advice.
And don't drink too much.
Also good advice. Yeah, so was there anything else you wanted to mention or talk about today?
I don't know, really. I think going back to the live streaming thing, there's a company I'm working with at the moment, and they've just been bought by Simon Cowell, and they're a company called Lounges. And they're a live stream company that focus specifically on artists, and it is such a great company to work for. I've done a few live stream gigs with them, and I've kept all of the revenue that I've made. And the format is incredible. There's like I did a live stream gig for them the other day, which was free to watch, but you could tip throughout it. So I think I came away with like 150 quid for a gig that was just sort of live in their studio. They're a great company to work for, and they've just been bought out by Simon Cowell, who's got this like massive faith in them for what they're doing. And I think quite rightly, they're doing some really exciting things. We filmed their campaign advert the other day, and the stats that they kind of have is, it goes back to sort of what creators make, like what the money you make from Spotify is nothing. We don't I don't really ever count that as earnings for me. And my plays on Spotify aren't bad. They're in their sort of thousands per month, but I don't make any money from that. Yeah. But with Lounges, I did like one gig, and again, like I said, made 150 quid for just turning up, singing 3 songs on live. And so they're a really, really exciting company, and I think they're just going to get bigger and better as a company. It's just, I'm really excited for them. So they're, if people are starting out, a great company to get involved with, I think.
Okay, can you say the name again one more time for
Yeah, it's lounges.tv, and I think they're lounges.tv on everything, and the gig I'm doing is by them, so they'll be all over my social media. They always are. I always tag them and everything.
Okay. Yeah, and then for everyone who wants to stay updated on everything you're doing, can you share your social medias?
Yeah, I'm Clare Cordell on everything, which is really helpful. So it's Clare without an I, so Clare Cordell, Cordell on most things. And then my website is just clarecordell.com, and you can find everything on there. I'm most active on Instagram. I have no idea how to use Twitter or X, whatever.
Yeah, I think most people have kind of given up on it.
Yeah. I try with TikTok. I'm not I'm not a TikToker, but you probably grab me on Instagram.
Yeah, and then our last question is, what is the soundtrack of your life?
so hard. I just got some Spotify Wrapped stats through.
Hmm.
I listen to a lot of film scores. I don't know. I didn't know that about myself, but I listen to a lot of a lot of film scores. And also Aretha Franklin. Anything
Hmm.
Aretha. Yeah, I think. I'm trying to think of my favorite Aretha Franklin song. Baby, I Love You, probably.
Good one.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all good ones, but
Yeah, I was just trying to think if there's another one that I like. No, I'm gonna stick with "Baby I Love You" by
okay.
Aretha Franklin. Yeah,
Well, yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
that's all right. Thanks for having me. See you later. Bye.
Bye.